Hello! In this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to make up a disperse dye vat. Disperse dyes are used for dyeing synthetic fibres such as acrylics or polyesters. So the first thing you want to do is weigh the dry weight of your fabric and make a note of this. I tend to round up to the nearest gram. I then multiply the weight of my fabric by 0.03 grams just to get a rough idea of how much dye I'm going to need. But the exact amount is going to depend on the shade that you want. So if you want a paler shade, you'll need less dye. Just make sure that you're making really thorough notes as to how much dye you're putting in. After you've soaked your fabric thoroughly, you then want to begin weighing out your dye. So wearing a mask, gloves, apron and working in the extraction unit, you can then begin to weigh out your dye. If the scales don't respond, you can just gently tap on them to prompt them to recalibrate. And once you've weighed out your dye, you can then add in a tiny splash of water to begin making a paste out of your dye. So creating a paste will just help the dye to dissolve more evenly, and it'll help prevent anything like spotting happening on your fabric. Once you've made your paste, you can add a little bit more water to your dye solution, and then you can set this aside. So plug in and switch on your heat plate and place your metal bucket onto the heat plate. And remember, make sure that you've had a health and safety induction for using a heat plate safely, and don't use them if you've not had this induction. Talk to a technician if you need a health and safety induction into the heat plates. Add the dye in, mixing it really thoroughly. Next, add in your fabric into your dye vat, and the length of time you leave it in there depends on the shade required really, but sometimes up to half an hour or an hour. And don't leave your heat plate unattended while dyeing fabric as well. Once you've finished, you would switch off your heat plate, remove the fabric using a jug to collect any drips, where you would then take it over to the sinks and wash it thoroughly until the water runs clear using Metapex. Any questions? Ask a technician.